Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs and today I have a very pink card to share with you. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to show you first just this little holder that I've made for my blending foams. I've had a couple of questions about it and I was thinking about redoing it once all of the new distress colors are out, and I was thinking about doing that live. So let me know what you guys think, if you think you want to join me and do that. Maybe make one with me or just, jump on and talk to me while I make one. Let me know what you think. So I'm going to blend my background. So I have a piece of HammerMill Cardstock that I've cut down to the A2 size. I'm going to bring in a die, as you guys saw from that picture, to cut it out down to a smaller size, but I'm starting with it as A2. And I brought in 4 colors of Distress Oxide ink that I'm going to blend into one another. And I have Kitsch Flamingo, Worn Lipstick, Picked Raspberry, and Abandoned Coral. And I do prefer the domed foams for blending. I tried with the flat foams when I first started. And then scrapbook.com brought out the domed ones first. And now, of course, Ranger has them as well. Tim Holtz brought some out. But I jumped quite quickly from the flat foams to these domed foams because I found it made it a lot easier not to have harsh lines when you were blending. And I know blending can be difficult. I've had some questions about that. I know Christina Warner does a lot of really good videos where she blends certain colors together and kind of gives you an idea of what colors you could try out. And she does have a lot of tips in those for blending. So make sure you check those out if blending is something really interesting to you. But I do find the dome foams way easier to blend. But then, of course, I get a lot of questions about how do you store the foams because they are domed, not flat. So that's when I came up with designing my own kind of holder. And then I did a video a while ago on how to make it, but I'm going to do a new one once Tim Holtz brings out all of the rest of the distress colors. But yeah, so I just thought I'd kind of get your guys' opinion on that. And then once all my blending was done, I brought in it's Waffle Flower's A2 lacy layers dies. And I brought the largest lacy layer die and the deckled edge or the stitched edge die, and I'm going to cut down my panels. I'm back to using my magic mat because you can't use the chrome precision base plate with open dies. It'll bend them. So I'm kind of back to trying out my magic mat and seeing if I can get it to work because it saves having to replace the plates constantly, which if you can save a little bit of money for other fun crafty things, I do kind of try to do. So I am going to use, this is Desert Storm oh boy guys, Neenah Desert Storm cardstock is that craft cardstock, and I'm going to use that as the base for this just because I think pink and brown look really good together. And then I brought in the Tim Holtz Feathery dies and I cut out 3 of them with the Velum that I have on hand. I believe these dies are still available. If they aren't, I'll try to link something comparative, but these came out a little while ago, and I know Sizzix does retire their dies. So hopefully they're still available. If not, I'll find something comparable. And I always have everything I use linked and listed down below if you're ever interested in something specific. And then I am going to put a little bit of glue just under where I want the feathers to sit. The whole idea is that the wax seal and the string are kind of holding them in place. But to keep them from moving at all while I'm trying to adhere the other things, I do put just a touch of liquid glue underneath to keep them where I want them. And then I'm going to be able to hide it because, of course, Velum, you can see the liquid glue and I don't want you to be able to see it. So I'm going to adhere some double-sided Scor-tape. This is the 1/8 of an inch behind the card panel, and that's what I'm going to use to hold my brown twine in place. But it's also kind of give the illusion that it's holding the feathers there. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. This is how I like to make sure my string doesn't go around anywhere, and then you can add a bow or you can add whatever you want in the front without it kind of shifting around on you. So I found this to be the easiest way to kind of get that look that you want without having to kind of fight with getting the string to stay where you actually want it to sit. And I have no idea where this twine came from. It came in a Simon Says Stamp kit a while ago, and I love it. I keep using it. I really need to find some more because I love the shaded brown. It matches that Neenah Desert Storm perfectly, which is my preferred craft cardstock just because it's kind of a lighter brown. But I think it's neat. So I kind of keep using it. And this kind of gave it like a slightly rustic feel because it's a bit distressed. The twine it kind of has little wisped hairs kind of going everywhere. So I thought that was kind of neat. And then this has to be one of my favorite things ever. Wax seals are just so much fun. So I have this little wax seal kit. It came from Amazon. I purchased it a while ago. And every once in a while, I bust it out because I love wax seals. And I did 2 white wax seals and just 1 pink metallic one in the center of them. So I kind of got this really neat swirled color when I put them down on top of the string and on top of the feathers. Be aware that I am using a heat-resistant vellum, or a heat tolerant vellum. So with those wax seals going on there, it's not going to be a huge deal. And here the wick just it's so short that it didn't want to burn. So I just grabbed another candle and lit it with my little, I think it's like a barbecue starter. That's what I have on hand. So that's kind of what I've been using, but wax seals are just so much fun. And I hope to have them as a freebie when I open my shop in February. That's something I'd love to do. I don't think it'll happen right away, but once I kind of get a few more products going to have for sale in my shop, I'd love to be able to do wax sales as like a freebie thank you after a certain amount of purchase kind of thing. So keep your eye out for that. I have more studio vlogs that I'm working on for opening my shop, but I'm not quite there yet. I have a lot of stuff to get done first, but hopefully we are getting close. And I left this in just because I love watching things melt. I mean, I know this part might be slightly boring for some people, and that's fair. You can always jump ahead if you don't want to watch certain parts. But I just kind of like to leave in the parts that kind of, feel magical a little bit, like melting embossing powder and wax seals and that kind of stuff. I just think it's really pretty. And then I got this really cool kind of striation between that pink wax and those 2 white ones, and I just thought it was really pretty. So I put on a rose one that I had. I think it actually came with this kit specifically, and I'm going to hold it up here so you can actually check it out, and it's just so pretty. Look at that. Like, how neat is that? And I mean, you can make perfect ones. There are things that you can put the wax in to make a perfect circle. That wasn't my aim or my goal. I just really wanted to have it be organic and natural, but you can absolutely make perfect circled ones. I wasn't concerned about it. And then to add a little more dimension to this panel, I brought in my Big Mama foam tape, and I'm going to use that across the back. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and it's called Big Mama because the roll is so large. It's very, very, very thin. It adds just this great subtle amount of dimension without adding a crazy amount of bulk. Because if you guys know, I have pen pals and I like to mail out my stuff. So I really try not to have crazy amounts of bulk to my cards, which is why I generally lean towards stuff like flat shaker cards instead of like the traditional ones that have that more bulk to them, just because, to keep postage down, because postage can be quite expensive. So I kind of try to, where I can, cut down on bulk, but still end up with a beautiful product at the end that I'm really excited about. And this card kind of was funny because at this point, I wasn't going to add a sentiment. You will have seen in the beginning that I do have a sentiment on my card. And here Ember is going to join us and just, add her good looks to the video. But I do end up deciding to add a sentiment, which is going to be an interesting thing here in a moment. And you can see that the Big Mama foam tape, if you haven't pressed it down, you can still lift it off and realign things. So that also kind of gives me a little bit of leeway to kind of change up the where something's sitting if I need to. And then I'm going to adhere this down to my A2 card base. It's just the white base. This is why I brought in some white wax, just to have that white reflected in more than one area of the card. And I also think that it frames this beautifully and kind of gives you that just finished look. I am going to bring in some pearls because, again, I'm really bad for bling, and I struggle to know when to stop sometimes, but I think that turned out really, really pretty. And here a piece of hair just got stuck and I'm trying to get it off, but I think that this card really came out beautifully. So here I brought in, these are the Studio Katya Satin Blanc pearls, but they really kind of take on this beautiful blush hue almost a little bit here. So though they are kind of a white color, they weren't as stark as the white pearls that I have. So I kind of thought that they would look really pretty and just kind of add to it here. This is when I decided that I was going to add a sentiment, which don't do it now. I mean, it worked out okay for me. I was really lucky, but at this point I could have really messed up the card that I was making. But I took the foam out of my Misty so that if I needed to stamp it multiple times, I could. And that also gave it some depth because the foam in the background and whatnot. So it worked out, but maybe, plan that out a little better than I did. And then I did splash on a little bit of Perfect Pearls that I have mixed up just to add a little bit of interest in the background. This is also something you could have done beforehand. I wasn't sure if I wanted it, so I saved it until the end. Sorry, guys. So there's the card I have for you today. I hope you enjoy it. I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.